Welcome to episode 49 of the Greeting Moshiach podcast. I'm your host, Simcha Fisch, along with me, my co-host, Levi Polachenko. Thank you for being here with us. And give our channel a little subscribe. Help us out, spread the word, and we'll help bring Moshiach together. So I thought we'd make this a mailbag episode. We'll answer some of your questions, some of your burning, deep questions about Moshiach and our podcast. So keep them coming. If you have any questions about Moshiach in general, and particularly the topic we discuss here in our podcast about the Rebbe being Moshiach, etc., and greeting Moshiach, please send them our way. We welcome them. So let's jump right in. Levi, what do you have for us?
All right, so we got our first question. Baruch Hashem, thank you very much. So here's the question. Can't you explain the Rebbe's words, Yemais HaMashiach in was gefinst it's there? By the way, where is it from? We'll talk about that in a second. The Gemara says the last 2,000 years of Yemais HaMashiach. Also, what's with the Rebbe's writing that there is no need to find who's Mashiach? So there's two questions. Question number one. Can't you explain when the Rebbe says that we're in Yemais HaMashiach, the famous Yitas Kislev, when the Rebbe says that we're the days of Mashiach that we find ourselves now, can't you explain that, like the Gemara says that he separates the sixth millennium, and he splits it up into three. There's Beis Alafim Tayu, Beis Alafim Teira, and Beis Alafim Yemais HaMashiach. Can't you explain that when the Rebbe says the days of Mashiach that we find now as those 2,000 years? Number one. And the second question is, what's with the Rebbe writing that there's no need to find who's Mashiach? Just to give a little context to that question, there's a famous answer that came out after Chav Zayin Adar where the Rebbe says that there's no mitzvah to find out who Mashiach is, to look for Mashiach, but there is a mitzvah, asay deraisa, to love your fellow Jew. So that's the question, number two.
All right. So the first question, so when the Rebbe says we're in Yemais HaMashiach, that's a phrase, to my knowledge, the Rebbe has uttered once, exactly one time. Certainly that's edited, so that I know of. That's not something, it was not a constant refrain, it was not something that the Rebbe spoke about ever at all. So if the Rebbe mentions something only once, and in the middle of Tafshin Beis, I think that warrants some looking at and not just brushing it off as some excuse. Yeah, the Gemara says this is the era of the Gemara says what's meant to be. It's meant to be the era of Yemais HaMashiach. This is meant to be the time of Yemais HaMashiach. But unfortunately, we've spent the majority of it not in Yemais HaMashiach. That just is unfortunately the reality. And the Rebbe is saying now a chiddush. The Rebbe says that we are actually Yemais HaMashiach, the days of Mashiach in which we find ourselves now. So what that means, and I understand that, just to clarify what I understand the explanation of that to be, that Mashiach, as you know, we talk about a lot on this channel, is not an era. Mashiach is a person. And Yemais HaMashiach is the era in which there will be a person, Mashiach. But Mashiach, the person, there is, as the Rambam explains, two levels, two stages to his revelation, to his coming out, so to speak, as Mashiach. There is the first stage when he is called a presumed Mashiach. This is when he does all the good things that a good Jewish king would do. Assuming he fits the criteria, he is presumed to be Mashiach. That means he comes from David HaMelech and from Shlomo. He knows the whole Torah, follows its ways. He compels all the rest of the Jewish people to follow Torah and fix its breakages, to fix its fixing, his things that need fixing, and he fights the wars of Hashem. Such an individual is considered to be presumed to be Mashiach. And then there is the next stage. If he's actually successful in winning the wars and he's successful doing all those things, he makes all the Jews to follow Torah mitzvahs, and then he actually goes and builds the Beis HaMikdash, and then he gathers all the Jewish people into into Eretz Yisrael, just keep with Goliath, then he is certainly Mashiach. So in both of these stages, there's somebody who is on the stage doing things in his capacity as Melech HaMashiach. So as soon as there's somebody who can already be called B'chazkas Mashiach, you can already say that we're in Yemaisa Mashiach. We're in the era when there's Mashiach. It's just that we obviously want it to be the full revelation of Mashiach, and then it's Yemaisa Mashiach, the way Mashiach is already in the Geula times, and the way it's already fully revealed, but both stages can be called Yemaisa Mashiach, and the Rebbe makes this clear in the Sikha of Chayestar Tavshin Beis, where the Rebbe delineates these two stages in Yemaisa Mashiach, and the Rebbe says that what we really want is the second stage. But to be sure, the Rebbe considered both stages to be called Yemaisa Mashiach. So you look at the era, you look at the time period when the Rebbe is saying this, Yutas Kislev, Tavshin Beis, where there's this whole Mashiach fervor, and the Rebbe was talking, the Rebbe was talking about Mashiach is revealed, and he's here, he's taking us out of Golos, and we have a new Avodah of greeting Mashiach, and then the Rebbe says, we're in Yemaisa Mashiach, it takes on an entirely new meaning. You look at the context, it all fits together. Oh, so what are we talking about? The Rebbe just said a few weeks before that there's the stage of Mashiach where the Mashiach's already here, he's taking us out of Golos, or you look at the Sikha of Shemais, I believe, and the Rebbe says there that Yehidatzen, it should be Hashem's will, as Levi, you remember the lashon that oh, there it is. As I'm cutting out a few words there, just but the Rebbe says there that after we already have somebody who's b'cheskas Mashiach, through this that he should very soon become Mashiach Bavada through fulfilling the criteria of the Rambam. I mean, the Rebbe is saying that there is indeed, in fact, already somebody who's B'chazkas Mashiach. We're asking that he should be Mashiach Bavada. This is something we didn't have before. The Rebbe never spoke these things before. The Rebbe, as a matter of fact, made it clear previously in the decades prior that there was actually nobody who fit the criteria. There was nobody who fit the bill that he's already B'chazkas Mashiach. For whatever reason that I'm not getting into the particulars here, that was something that previously in his Nasiah, the Rebbe made clear does not exist, and only now, in Tavshin and Beis, the Rebbe began to say, no, there actually is somebody now who's fitting the bill that he's B'chazkas Mashiach from the halachic thing for what the Rambam says. And then the Rebbe says, we're in Yemaisa Mashiach, this comes together that this is not the regular Yemaisa Mashiach that we're talking about of the 2,000 years in general. No, this is a particular thing we're talking about now. This is not something you can brush away or just brush off. It's part of a bigger picture of what's going on these years, and it's important that we realize that. So often you can take individual things and kind of say, oh, this was a one-off thing, and try to ignore the general vibe going on and just kind of continue doing regular Torah mitzvahs and chassidus. But it's important to take a look at what was going on then, look at the sikhs, look at the letters, look at the answers, look, I know you kach in this, Levi, to the farbringings that were going on then, the people, the way, how did people understand this at the time? What was the vibe? What was the vibe then? What was the understanding of the people?
Yeah, it's very interesting because, like, there are. I was talking to someone and telling them about the amazing things that the Rebbe says in Nun Beis, and in Aleph, and they're like, "What do you mean? The Rebbe said in Tavshin Chaf, if you look over here in this specific Fabringen, the Rebbe says basically the exact same thing," and I looked back at that, and Taka, the Rebbe says some amazing statements throughout the Nasios, but what differs? What makes the statements that the Rebbe says in Anaf and Beis different than all the other statements that have to do with Mashiach, the entire Nasios, from Tavshin Yud Aleph, Tavshin Yud, even through Tavshin Nun. If you look at all those times where the Rebbe says previously about these amazing statements throughout the Nasios, the difference is that in Anaf and Beis there was a clear shift. The Rebbe made a clear shift in the times that we're in. Meaning, once the Rebbe started speaking about Shana Melech HaMashiach Nigla, that the year that Mashiach is going to be revealed, and started speaking about the things that were happening in the world, the Rebbe wasn't just saying, oh, let's kach in Mashiach. The Rebbe was saying that the world is changing. If you look at what's happening in the world changed. We are living in a different world, in a different reality than it was in Tavshin Chaf, in Tavshin Lameds, and in Tavshin Mems. It's a different reality. The energy that is in the world is completely different. And we're not the ones that are pointing to this. The Rebbe is the one that made a difference. The Rebbe is the one that made a distinction between everything that was happening before and now.
It's like when
as it relates to Mashiach.
It's like when people have important conversations often or controversial conversations, they'll often say like, okay, but aside for that point, it's like if you're arguing about politics or what policy or morality, it's like, okay, but let's take God out of the religion out of the picture for a second. It's like, why should we do that? Like, wait, but God does exist. Can we please put it back in the picture?
That's the whole thing.
Like, why do we have to pretend like that the elephant in the room doesn't matter? Like, let's bring in the elephant, It's like, oh, the elephant here is that Tavshin Beis is not the same as Tavshin Chav and Tavshin Chav Ches. Yes, things changed. Before he was not the Ches Mashiach, now he is. Before it was not the time to talk about that Mashiach, now is the other time to talk about it. Yes, we've made progress. We've moved on. This is a good thing. Let's be happy about this. This is something to celebrate. We don't have to pretend like that didn't happen. It did happen.
And this I think takes us to the second question of what's with the Rebbe writing that there's no need to find who's Mashiach.
So about that, so first
yeah.
I heard recently, and this is perhaps most importantly, that this letter was actually from Tavshin Mem Beis. It's actually Ksav Yad, I think. It's actually from Tavshin Mem Beis, that it's actually not at all from the whole era. And if that's the case, then this whole thing is moot, because that fits right in. That this was at a time when it was the important thing in the mission to bring Mashiach was to spread Chassidus, like Abba Shem Tov said, when Mashiach told Abba Shem Tov, when you will spread the wellsprings of Chassidus, that will bring my revelation, that will bring to the revelation of Mashiach. So the important thing is to spread Chassidus, and if it's not yet the time, then you don't have the power and the ability to talk about the Rebbe Mashiach, and it's not important that it doesn't matter. So doing that will, if doing such a thing will, because people are not ready to hear it, will drive people away from learning Chassidus, and that's not the right thing to do. That's the opposite of the right thing to do. But then it becomes, after we've completed the job of what's necessary, we've spread enough chassidus that we've earned Mashiach's revelation, and then Mashiach becomes actually revealed to the world somewhat, and now it's time to greet him, then that's the whole mission now, is yet to greet him. So that's firstly, I heard that recently. Again, I don't know how I could possibly verify this myself, but that's what I heard. If you know more about this, you can let us know. But even if this was said, as was originally thought in Tafshin Nun Aleph or Nun Beis, it's also not clear what I've heard different versions of what the original context of the questioner was. Which side was they coming from? Was the Rebbe telling them not to kach in this, or were they trying to knock down people who were kaching in this? And the Rebbe told them that it's important to have Avos Yisrael, like stop getting caught up in this, like what's for sure mitzvah. Again, I don't know the original context, and what we know for sure is what the Rebbe told us in the Sichas. Now, it is also technically true there is no mitzvah to search who's Mashiach, technically speaking. Could be that if he's already revealed, meaning the Rebbe says in, again, I don't know what the letter is really trying to say, so I'm riffing here. There's in Tafshin Nun Aleph Mishpatim, I believe, the Rebbe says there that David Malka Mashiach is already appointed. And then it brings the pasuk in Tehillim from his capital, Mitzasi David Avdi, Shem and Kachi Meshachtev, that we, the people, are not the one who actually appoints Mashiach. We don't get to choose who Mashiach is, because we decide that we like this guy or that guy, he should be Mashiach. It's not actually up to us. It's Hashem who chooses Mashiach, and he says that he already chose him. It's from the sign of David. Hashem chose Mashiach. It says in Tehillim already. The Rebbe says, though, it's our job to, as the people, to connect to the king. It's our job. It's Dafna Zan Kabbalas Malchusa Yedei Ha'am, the Rebbe says. It has to be the people receiving and accepting and connecting with Mashiach. That's our job. Yes, there's no mitzvah to search and find out, and you're going to be the one to figure out Mashiach. But when he's already revealed, once you know who Hashem chose, which we do by looking at the Rebbe's Sichas, we know who the Rebbe chose, who Hashem chose. He chose the Rebbe to be Mashiach. Dinas Yadar is the Mashiach Shabadar. This is the last day of Golas. We know who Mashiach is. At that point, it's our job, the Rebbe tells us, to greet Mashiach. So people get caught up, on not ad hominem attacks. I don't know what the correct term is, but they get caught in one particular straw man or something. They get caught on particular aspects of a thing. Say, didn't the Rebbe say this letter? if it's true that we need to greet Mashiach, and it's also true that Rebbe is Mashiach, then that's really all that you need to know.
All that you need to know.
Getting caught up on the particular shot of this letter does not detract from everything else that you have. All of the sikhas, all that Rebbe encouraging a chi for a full year. Like, if what you're saying is true, why would the Rebbe go and publicly encourage the singing of Yechi Adonenu V'Reinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Le'Olam V'Ad? This is not important. If this letter is meant to be used as a source, as a reason to say that this is not a good thing to do, that we should not at all focus on who Mashiach is, and that it's not a good thing, we should just obviously strongly be nice to each other, the Rebbe did not at all follow this dictum.
Right.
All of the sikhs where the Rebbe kept referencing over and over and over again how he's Mashiach, firing the flames of the people saying that he's Mashiach, saying that the Rosh Hashanah of Mashiach is saying that we should have all the Rosh Hashanah of Mamish, all the Rosh Hashanah of Miyad, but this is Mashiach whose name is Menachem Yosef Yitzchak, the Friedrich Rebbe, and Dovber. Why would he say these things? If indeed it's true that it doesn't matter who it is, then it's not important, then we shouldn't focus on it. If that's what if you think that's what the Rebbe was trying to say, it doesn't fit at all. So whatever is, I think it's much more reasonable than to say, in all likelihood, this was from an earlier time period when indeed that was not the main thing to focus on. And it's not that it isn't true, like I explained, but now it becomes the time where the mission is yet to focus on it. Again, not on we choose who Mashiach is. We don't have to search, but once it becomes apparent, not to shut your eyes and your face in the ground and ignore it, but to embrace it because this is a good thing. Mashiach being here is the purpose. This is what we've all been waiting for. It's like the famous joke that I'm sure we must have told here of the old Russian couple, and the husband's a simple man. He's a farmer, and he's in shul, and he hears the rabbi speaking, and he's a simple man. He doesn't know much, and the topic of the rabbi's speech this week in Shabbos is Mashiach is coming. He's coming very soon. And over he hears this, Mashiach is coming, Mashiach is coming. And he runs out of the Beis Medrash and is frightened to his wife, and he says, Mashiach is coming, what are we going to do? And his wife says, don't worry, the same Hashem who saved us from the Cossacks, and the Hashem who saved us from the Mitzrayim, the Hashem, the Greek will save us from Mashiach too, don't worry, it's going to be okay. We could dig our head in the sand, we could ignore what's going on around us, we could be scared of Mashiach, but that's not the correct approach. Mashiach coming, we don't have to be scared from this. This is a good thing. Mashiach is here. Let's embrace that. Let's be happy. Let's do everything we can to bring Mashiach, to bring the Geula. We're trying to make this happen. So when we see more progress, let's not be cynical. Let's not shun it. Let's not say, oh, it's probably nothing. No, let's say it's probably something. Let's be on team the Rebbe being revealed, the Rebbe being Moshiach, the Rebbe taking us out of goals. These are happy events. These are good things. Let's be happy about them. Let's celebrate them. That's the natural reaction. And if you find yourself not being excited by this, if you find yourself feeling queasy about this whole thing, ask yourself why. Why should that make me queasy and uneasy? That the Rebbe is Moshiach and he's taking us out of galus. You don't think that he's Moshiach, and you don't think there's going to be somebody who's going to come at some point and take us out of galus. And at that point, it will be very important for everyone to consider him to be their king. Whenever this happens, there will be a time in history. There will be a man, a person born of flesh and blood. He will be King Moshiach, and everyone will recognize him as King Moshiach, and everyone will treat him as Moshiach. And this is what happens when you have a king. This is the process. So what if it's now? Why is that so scary? Why is that so horrifying? This terrifying thing we're trying to tell people that Mashiach is coming. Mashiach is here. It's not so scary. It's pleasant, actually.
And
nice.
and it would be very, very geschmack and very nice if people that are listening to this, if you're listening right now, if you can put in the comments, what do you think? What is it? There are different types of people that listen to this podcast. There are types of people that like to be strengthened in this idea that the Rebbe is Mashiach, and that this is our avodah, this is our shlichus, that this is our life, and they need tools to bring it into words so that they can really understand it and they can explain it to other people. And then there are people that they're interested, they're curious to hear what are these two nice, beautiful looking people saying. And if you're a person that is listening to this and you you identify with the fear that comes with the Rebbe being Mashiach and it being a reality, let us know in the comments what is it that it is. What at the end of the day, why is it bothering you? And like I heard, I was at a Shabbaton, I was asked to speak, and by the Kiddush, a guy came over to me and he said, what's so he came over to me and he said his issue with the whole Mashiach concept is the idea of a king. That first of all, the idea of a king is very foreign. Number one, sadly, in our days, you don't have kings, or do we? And number two, he said that the idea of a king is very frightening, because in people's minds, a king means that I'm subjugated. That means
just
I don't
today
have
the president
anything,
was presented with a king, with a crown, with a golden crown. No?
Yeah, with a golden crown. Yeah, that happened.
In
happened
Korea,
today.
in Japan, somewhere, I don't know,
Japan.
somewhere in the East. Big golden crown.
But so he was saying that the idea of a king is very scary. I don't want a king. I want my own autonomy. I want this and that and the other. And I think the No Kings protest, I think, would have been a great opportunity for Chabad, and in general, anybody that wants people to be more comfortable with the concept, to explain to people what it is to be a king, and the difference between a king and a dictator, and a difference between a king and an aristocrat. That there's a difference. A king is someone who was, I think there was a person, a pundit, that was explaining how, I would be okay with Trump being my king. Why? Because I love him, because I think he's doing amazing things, and I posted Rabbi Wolf had a share, and about this idea of a king and King Mashiach, Malcha Mashiach, and I made a clip of it called "The Appeal of Kingship," and he's basically explaining what's this whole idea of a king. And he's explaining that the whole idea of a king is that you love him so much and you care about him so much and you really, really want, and you see his greatness and you see how he has a broader vision than what I can see. And what you do is you accept upon yourself this person as the authority over your life, because first of all, because you love him and respect him. And second of all, because you know that this person, correct. And that's, in general, Kabbalah's Hamalchus is you have to accept it. And this is what I've been talking to people. Oh, why do people need to be Makabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu? Why does that mean?
To be fair, we don't want Trump as our king. We want the Rebbe as our king, just for the record.
Correct. We want, correct.
This is a mushal. This is an example.
Disclaimer,
yeah.
Exactly. But I was explaining to that person, because a king is someone that is accepted by the nation. A person cannot walk into a room and say, "Oh, I have authority over you," unless, and if he does, he's not a king. He's a dictator. He's a fascist. He's a authoritarian. He's all of these other names. I'm
pretty sure the word fascist has lost any and all meaning a long time ago. But yeah.
Right. Whatever it is. The point is that that's not a king. A king is someone who is accepted by the people. And this is why I believe the idea of Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu is so important, and I believe that it means that people have to accept the Rebbe as their king, have to accept Mashiach as their king, in order that they could be redeemed, they could be taken out of Golus. Because Mashiach can't just take random people out of Golus. Mashiach has to take
he will eventually take out every single Jew.
Over.
He will.
Right, because every Jew will accept Mashiach as king.
Or at some point, I don't know. At some point, there will be a quotient of enough people who did enough Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. Just like there was enough people who did mitzvahs that we earned the Gula. There enough people who have done this new avodah of Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu that the entire Jewish people as a whole have earned it, so to speak. I think, and the Mashiach will take everyone out of Gulas. I don't know if we're waiting for every single person to realize we might be here a while. And hopefully it'll be much sooner than that. Okay, let's move on to our next question.
So let's do the next question. All right. Next mailbag. Next person. Shalom Uvracha. I heard your last podcast. This is actually going a while back, approximately a year ago. I would like to ask you: do you believe that the Rebbe was the first tzaddik in history to have been appointed to be the Moshiach?
Let's answer that firstly.
In
Yes.
your own words, in your own words, the Nasi Hadar is the Mashiach Shabadar. So clearly, there have been many others.
No, those were potential people who could have been Mashiach at some point. If that generation would have been deserving, they would have then been appointed. But nobody was actually ever appointed until the Rebbe.
Right. So he says over here, and of course, every day and every day has been shaykh to the base of Mikta, to the base to be as Mashiach.
Right.
This is one of the Yud Gimel Ikrim. We believe that every single day Mashiach can come. So there's always been someone who is prepared in Hashemayim for this Avodah, long before the Rebbe was brought into the world. So I think this is very, very a misconception that the way it works is not that there's a person that is Mashiach and he's waiting every single day to basically get the green light. Rather, it is that there's a person that is he has the ability to be Mashiach, meaning if the generation is good, right, but not that he is Mashiach already just waiting for the green light. Rather, he has the potential to be Mashiach.
There's the way it's put on the base, that quotes
the generation,
there is very good. That there's Misha who there's somebody who is fit out of his righteousness, Lias Goyal, to be the Redeemer. When the time will come, Hashem will reveal himself to this individual, and then send him. So when we say appointed, we mean
just
sending him. That's what we're talking about here. That stage, yeah.
And no, also Yagala Elav. The Eibishter doesn't reveal himself to every single Mashiach Shabadar.
Right.
Every single meaning every generation has a person Sheuroi Lios Mashiach, but he is not every single generation has the revelation from Hashem. Oh, by the way, if the generation is good, then you'll be that guy.
The closest we've ever gotten that we know of was Chizkiah, who we know for a fact was fit to be Mashiach. We know that Hashem wanted to make him Mashiach, and we know that he didn't make him Mashiach because the Satan intervened because he didn't give thanks. But you see there that he was righteous enough. He fit the criteria, so to speak. But in fact, Hashem never actually appointed him Mashiach.
He didn't reveal himself to him and then appointed.
He never appointed.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So this is just a conception.
I ask you, why did the Rebbe need to be appointed? Yeah. All right.
Let's keep going.
Moving on. Why did the Rebbe need to be appointed if there were tzaddikim for thousands of years before him? Maybe one of them will have Tchias HaMesim and serve as the Goyal.
Okay, so this question, that's a fair question, right? Once you say that, the Rebbe can be Mashiach after Gimel Tammuz, once you go down, however you want to understand Pshat, once you go down that rabbit hole, why should the Rebbe be Mashiach? And first of all, the answer is just because he is. And the Rebbe told us that Mashiach did reveal himself to him, and he did send him, and that's just what happened.
Meaning he's already
been appointed, right? That follows from the previous concept. If you don't understand the difference between being appointed and being fit to be Mashiach, then that could lead you to have this question. Once you understand that only one person is ever appointed, then it's only that person. As to why Dafka the Rebbe, why specifically is the Rebbe the one to be Mashiach? So in every generation, there is the Nasi Adar is the Mashiach Shabadar, right? He's the one, whoever is the Nasi, the leader of that generation, he's the one fitting to be Mashiach in that generation. And because the Rebbe told us that this is the last generation of Galus, that means he will be the Nasi Hadar, he will be the leader of this last generation until the end. So because the Rebbe still remains the Nasi, he also remains the one who's the Mashiach of that generation. And that goes until he takes us out of Galus. So, right, it was never going to be somebody from a previous generation. It was always going to be somebody from the generation leaving Galus. It's not going to be somebody from a previous generation. It was the one who's the Nasi of the current generation. He's the one who Hashem sends. The question is, why is the Rebbe the Nasi of our generation? That's already a separate story, and that's the reality, and it's a strange and uncomfortable reality. But it's the one we unfortunately find ourselves in, and that's something that all Lubavitchers agree on across the board. All Lubavitchers will tell you that the Rebbe is the right now Nasi Adar. It's just that for some reason most Lubavitchers are uncomfortable sharing the obvious outcome of that he's also therefore still the Mashiach of a generation. But there you go. All right, let's go right there.
All right. So the next part of the next part is what makes you sure that his setup is different than the other tzaddikai adoros. So this is my answer to
His setup. What does that mean?
to the previous question. So it's like a part two of the previous question of the why the Rebbe over the other tzaddikai adoros if we're relying on Tchias Meis and all that. So this is my answer. My answer is that if you look through all the tzaddikai adoros, every single one, even Moshe Rabbeinu, even Avram Avinu, every single one of them, none of them have come close to the influence, to the I wouldn't say the tzidkus, but definitely the things that the Rebbe has accomplished, and we're going there because why not?
Well, you have being Mashiach doesn't have to only do with tzidkos. It has to do with the criteria that Rambam lays out.
I'm saying,
yeah,
right. I'm saying, not right. I was going further than tzidkos, but I'm saying the accomplishments that the Rebbe has accomplished, meaning if we're just going on paper, right? Everything that the Rebbe has done, compared to all of the other tzaddikai adoros, the Rebbe is the one that is the most roi, most fitting to be Mashiach. Meaning, even if Chas v'Shalom, Rahman al-Islam, we're dealing with a case where everything's equal. Right now, the Eibusher is sitting there, and he's like, okay, it's time to bring Mashiach. I haven't chosen anybody yet.
Who should we choose? From all the tzaddikim and all the generations, all the leaders?
From all the tzaddikai adoros. Every single one, there is no one that has reached the
So this is, you're saying, in the realm of Yaakov Kol Yisrael Leilech Ba, that he has sought to fix the breach.
Everything, every single part.
No,
of
I mean, there's been a lot of people who have been tzaddikim who followed in the ways of David and Shlomo, who know the whole Torah. I think a lot of people who did that.
Meaning that, right? So that puts them on the same bar.
But there's the people. What's unique is the fighting the wars of Hashem and the Yaakov Kol Yisrael Leilech Ba Chazik B'Tka.
Right. What made the Rebbe above and beyond everybody
and
else?
And also, you have to be a melech. You need to be a and the way the Rebbe doesn't understand, you have to be a literal king because there's no kings now. But you have to be somebody who's you can't be a random guy that nobody knows of. You need to.
It's funny. I don't know if this is relevant if we're going to keep it in, but I asked Rabbi Wolf about the Yanuka. And yeah, he said he's probably a high neshama and stuff like that. And he says his only problem is that people think that he's Moshiach.
I know nothing about the Yanuka.
What's
for the
problem? Whatever. And what's the problem with the Yanuka being Moshiach, besides for the obvious issue that Moshiach is already appointed and all that stuff? But he says that if you look at the Yanuka, the way he just, first of all, holds himself, and also the way people interact with the Yanuka, there's no malchus. It's not kingship. By the Rebbe, there was this idea of that you could clearly see that people, the way people interact with the Rebbe, and the way the Rebbe himself like the whole thing was malchus. Like Ba'omer parades where the Rebbe is on a thing and everybody's walking past the Rebbe. That's malchus. When the Rebbe, by davening, especially when the Rebbe got a stage, that's malchus. By the Fabrengen, that's malchus.
Everything
of the Rebbe was malchus.
The Rebbe, the malchus.
So that's yeah. Like correct. He was Meshich in the Gavaya. He was head and shoulders above the nation.
Right. Whereas previous generations
but also above of all tzaddikai adoros.
Whereas in previous generations, the Rebbe would interact with the Chassidim. It was like a Fabrengen. The Rebbe didn't do that. The Rebbe was sitting in his kingly red chair, and the Rebbe spoke to the people. He addressed the nation. He he didn't take questions or comments during the Fabrengen. You could write to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe would respond. People wanted the Rebbe to write about the Rashi Zichas, and the Rebbe would answer. But the Rebbe sat and he addressed the nation. That was the Fabrengen. That was the fun. And as the years went later, in the beginning there was somewhat of interaction. As the years went later, it became more and more malchus, more and more removed, more and more reimos. Until if you look at the sikhs of, in Tafshin and Beis, the Rebbe is like mamish already, like very holy and like, so to speak, even more removed from the people in a sense, in a way of being above the people, like Mamish, like he's talking from wherever
but
he
in
is
an
on
exalted way, meaning not
exalted,
not in like aloof.
and the
but
Chassidim are
exalted.
trying to look up and grasp some of it, but and then I think the ultimate malchus, people don't like to hear this, but I think it's true, was when the Rebbe sat on his porch in Tavshin and Gimel. The Rebbe sat on the porch,
Not saying anything, just
and all the Chassidim saying there, they said, "Long live the king." Literally, long live our master teacher Rebbe King Moshiach, forever. And the Rebbe is just no words, nothing, just pure malchus energy, pure kingly energy of the people and his nation. And there was never a time when it was more strongly felt, this connection between the people and their king. Than Tavshin and Gimel. Yes, different people were there. You have different people tell you different stories and different realities and different about what was the vibe going on then. But certainly there was a lot of people who experienced it the way I'm describing,
wow.
and certainly that's how the camp songs describe it. and look at the pictures, look at the videos.
That's the best. That's the best metric.
There you go. No, but it tells you
All
it tells you this was not one person's thing. This was the vibe going on then. That's what it tells you. It's a piece of history.
Piece of history. All right. So, not necessarily a question, but a comment that we'll think. Clearly, what's driving you is that you are afraid to say something that the Rebbe himself said. He wasn't matzliach in bringing the geula. He was matzliach at a lot of things, of course. He, like many other tzaddikim before him, were not zeicha. Who were not zeicha? Basically, didn't get there. Your backdrop here is all emotions based, not logic based. It hurts you as a chassid that he wasn't matzliach in this crucial effort. Okay, that's healthy. But when min dreit, und dreit wird min zidreit. At the end of the podcast, you stated that this is something you can say over to people. You're in an echo chamber. Your words and ideas don't sound right to anyone outside of Chabad, for sure. I can tell you as a person who, although not a chassid and not a misnagid, a person who was zoicha to meet the Rebbe several times in my youth, a person who has dedicated much efforts in learning Teres Chabad, a person who spoke at the local Yitzhak Kislev Fabringen, as a Rav of a shul that has 2 Chabad Bachim share divrei Torah in his shul. If this is Chabad, you definitely pushed me away. Kol tov.
Wow.
So
that's
yeah.
So
let's hear your thoughts.
I think it's a bit of it's a big shame, obviously, and I'm not really very sorry. But it's a failure, I think, on the part of Lubavitch as a whole, that what we're saying is perceived as fringe and niche and crazy, and it isn't seemingly the goal of most people to present the type of Lubavitch that we're presenting. All they want is to be able to share divrei Torah at the shul, to share a sicha from Chelik Aleph L'kut Sichos. That's the end goal. They never want to do anything more than make a Tanya share, to have someone learn some L'kut Torah, to hear a vart from Rebbe. That's it. To have people respect the Rebbe as another voice of a tzaddik in Judaism. And as soon as you tell people that there's actually more to the Rebbe than that, you tell them what it says in Shaftim. The Rebbe told us, and this is printed. The Rebbe told us to tell every single Jew that he's a Navi. And he's telling us that we will immediately have the redemption. The Rebbe said to do that. You think this person who wrote this letter wants to hear that? Probably not. He'd probably say that's radical and crazy. People have a view of Yiddishkeit that the Rebbe Lubavitch was at best not really that much part of Judaism, because all the rest of the Gedolim, that's Judaism. And now we're trying to gain our way into popularity that we can also be from the good people in Judaism.
To be mainstream, to be accepted into mainstream Judaism.
But that's not what the Rebbe was selling. The Rebbe was selling that he's the Nasi Adar, he's Moshe Rabbeinu. The Rebbe was selling a whole different version. And if you look into the Rebbe's Sichos, it's just a fact that Rebbe was selling the story that he is Mashiach and that he did succeed and that he was appointed as Malach HaMashiach and he will take us out of Galus. There's no going back from that. So either what the Rebbe told us is true or it isn't true. There is no middle ground where we get to keep the Rebbe as a nice holy figure who has nice sichas, but we don't have to believe him when he tells us that he's Mashiach and he's taking us out of Galus. Which one is it? Because he told us that he's Mashiach and he's taking us out of Galus. He told us that Mashiach was appointed and that it's the Nasi Adar of our generation and that he was given a mission by Hashem to take us out of Galus, and that it's our job to greet him so that he can fulfill his mission. That happened. You can't make it go away, and why would you want to make it go away? This is such good news, like we were speaking before. Why are you turned away from Chabad? Come close. Join us. This is a very good mission that we have here to greet Moshiach. This is a very exciting thing. It's happening. Why should it be not true? How do you know that it's not true? This person says that the Rebbe said that it's not true. Where does he know that from? What do you mean it failed? And if it failed, then Shlichus also failed. Shlichus was here to bring... Shlichus was here with a particular mission in mind, to bring the Gula. That's the point of Shlichus. If the Rebbe's marching orders failed, then whose orders are we marching to? Then are there or aren't there emissaries? Who are the people who are on Shlichus? Who are the emissaries of? What mission are they fulfilling? If it's the Rebbe's mission was that he would take us out of Galus. That was his mission. And the Shluchim are still marching to those orders to make that happen. Would this person disagree? I don't know.
And yeah, I think what's also very interesting is that this last comment is not just directed to us, and it's not just something that we have to answer to because we're over here fringe people saying that Rebbe is Mashiach. Every single Lubavitcher has to answer this question. Every single Lubavitcher is doing a very good job at like lahavdil of dollars in the previous administration when the spokesperson for the administration, the White House press secretary, was standing there and the reporters were asking questions on the president's
I believe her title is the world's worst, most untalented press secretary. Yeah,
press secretary, whatever it is. But the press secretary would constantly, I wouldn't say did a very good job, but would always obfuscate and not answer the question and rely on the fact that, okay, there are people that like me, there are people in the press that like the president, correct, and they'll cover for me, and never had to address the real problem. But the issues were still there. And the issues had to be answered by the entire administration. Everybody there had to answer these questions. Even if they didn't agree with the president, they still had the responsibility to answer those questions because they were part of it. So the same thing is over here. Even though a lot of Lubavitchers do a very good job at obfuscating and not answering the question and trying to do everything but ignore these specific points, which is essentially the underlying issue, which is not only Mashiach, the entire idea of the Rebbe being the Nasi Hadar. The entire idea, especially now, if you look, this is what boggles my mind every single time I see it. Right now, with the whole Gaza deal, right? Whether it's good, whether it's bad, if you ask a Lubavitcher, do you agree with this deal or not? They'll tell you what the Rebbe says, and not only they'll tell you what the Rebbe says, but they'll have their blood boiling. How is it talking that you're doing this? This is going to lead to the death of hundreds of thousands of Jews. Blah 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 blah.
Are we making this an episode about the Gaza deal? Because I have a lot to say. I want to get into that.
We're not going to get into that. But what bothers me so much is that really you're saying that this is what the Rebbe says. Why should that person listen to you? Oh, he should listen to you because the Rebbe is what, a smart person? The Rebbe is what? Explain to a tzaddik? Oh, the Rebbe is Nasi Hadar. Oh, you think that we should all be listening to the Rebbe? Oh, if this is what you think, so then let's go to all the other things and meaning.
We're making a big claim here. The Rebbe is the leader of all the Jewish people. He's not another tzaddik.
Correct. And it's not just a claim, right? And it's not just a claim that we're making. We're making just going a step further than the claim. But every single Lubavitcher is living with this underlying claim. The reason why I'm a Lubavitcher, the reason why I'm on Shlichus, the reason why I am influencing other people is based on this underlying thing that the Rebbe is still Nasi Hadar, that the Rebbe is still the leader of the generation, and there's a reason why I'm here. I'm here to bring you what the Rebbe teaches. I'm here to bring you to the Rebbe. You're supposed to connect to the Rebbe, and sadly, and because this question is being so ignored. And we're doing such a lot of people are doing such a good job at dancing around it and walking on eggshells. I think there's a new generation of shluchim that are not working hard to bring the Rebbe to other people. They're actually just bringing Judaism to other people. And it's sadly, it's not about the Rebbe. I've seen camps, and I've seen, I'm saying especially day camps and people that deal with secular kids, and especially
it's
kids
hard
that
when
are
you're
like
in the grind
sort of,
and you're doing good work. It's hard to always. You have to be very centered and focused on your mission. That it's a. You have to keep recentering
and
yourself.
what makes it even harder is when the organization that I'm part of is not talking about this and is ignoring it. Right? If every single year I go to the Kinus HaShluchim and this is what they're not talking about, they're not talking about this. They're not giving me tools.
Right? Who's telling them different? Right?
They're not giving me tools to explain it to people. If I'm uncomfortable like this, if I'm uncomfortable with the Rebbe's instruction to publicize to the world that the Rebbe's Navi, the Rebbe is a prophet, and everybody has an obligation to listen to the Rebbe as a prophet. If I'm uncomfortable with that, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to justify me not saying that by the very fact that I'm doing all these amazing things. Okay? Yes, I'm not saying this specific thing, even though the Rebbe does tell me to say it. But look at all the other things I'm doing. And what's definitely not helping is every single time I go to the Kinus HaShluchim, where I'm surrounded by people that are like-minded and people that should be helping me strengthen this idea and this thing and giving me words to be able to bring it to the people, they're not doing that. They're not giving me the tools to bring this idea of that the Rebbe is Navi to the people. So we're not going to do it. And,
are you going to the Kinnis this year?
Emir Hashem.
Are you bringing guests? Chaim, are you bringing guests? Huh?
I am not bringing guests. I'm bringing my Esrei Kechas HaNefesh.
Are you sure? Maybe just one guest? No?
The Nekuda is, the point that I'm trying to say is that this is a responsibility. Right now, it's not about whether the Rebbe is Moshiach or not. It's about doing what the Rebbe says to do. I was having a conversation with someone. He was arguing with me. The Rebbe never says to publicize that the Rebbe is Moshiach. The Rebbe never says that this is the shlichus. The shlichus is to tell people that the Rebbe is Moshiach. I said, you know what? That's true. The Rebbe never says to be mefarsim l'chol anshei hador that the Rebbe is Moshiach and we have to accept the Rebbe as Malach HaMashiach. That's true. Never said it. The Rebbe encouraged it. The Rebbe wrote positive responses to people that have done it. But it's true. The Rebbe never said clearly in those words to do it. So I said to the person, I said, are you looking for, meaning, if the Rebbe did say it, would you agree that that's what we have to do? So he said, yeah, if the Rebbe says it, then obviously the Rebbe is telling us to be mefarsim, to publicize, then obviously you should be publicizing. What?
Yeah.
I mean, like shluchim and chassidim, also chassidim, right? It's not, the Rebbe is not just talking to shluchim, the Rebbe is also talking to chassidim. And I said, oh, okay, if that's the case, should we, as an organization and as an individual, be publicizing to the world that there's a prophet in our midst, and the Rebbe is that prophet, first of all, and we have to listen. Therefore, we have an obligation, min ha-Torah. We have a biblical obligation to listen to this person. Is that what you're saying? Oh, so you agree with that? We have to do that.
Mic drop. That was a mic drop right there.
And he says, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not. I don't identify with it. I have to speak to my mashpia. I said, okay. So what we see is that your problem isn't that the Rebbe doesn't say it. Your problem is that you're not comfortable with that. So don't tell me that you're doing a terrible thing by doing this. If even if the Rebbe did say it, you wouldn't be doing it. And not only wouldn't you be doing it, but
This is the main thing. We need to. That's what it is about opening our eyes. We need to make ourselves comfortable with this reality, and we can all relate to it on some level or another. This Gullus mentality. We're scared to go out of Gullus. We're scared to really embrace, to put all our eggs in this basket of Moshiach is coming and the Rebbe's Moshiach is taking. We're scared to go there, and that's our job. That's part of this mission of making ourselves open to it, making ourselves ready to do this. And you have to learn about it. You have to think about it. You have to contemplate this. Watch those videos of the Gimel if you haven't. That'll help. You might not like it, but get into it. You'll see. It's good stuff. Anyways, we should be very soon that everyone will accept Moshiach. And by the time it comes to Kinnis, we should already be celebrating together with the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach in Yerushalayim and HaKodesh very, very soon.
Amen,
we want
amen.
Mashiach now.
And also very, very important, send us your questions, send us your comments, send us your concerns, levypolochenko@gmail.com. It will be linked
or leave it in the
here
comments.
Leave it in the comments. Everything, please, please, please share with us what you think. Let's do this together. Let's bring Mashiach. Let's greet Mashiach.
And click here, and here. Nothing will happen.
Definitely subscribe, like, share, comment, all of the beautiful things. We want Mashiach now.
ועד כדי כך המדבר גולהוב מהדר עם זול מחי זין יחי המלך.